Bad boy.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? You've tuned in live to the flyest sports and entertainment podcast in all the land. This is statlinesmatter. I am your host, Marquis Stewart. Like always, sitting right here with my partner in crime, Mr. Rob Hunter Jr.
Hello.
What's going on, my boy?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
I gotta ask you, because we've been in this mode. I gotta ask you, man, how's the move? I mean, how's it going? I know it's still like give us the quick.
Okay,
how we looking?
There is
some progress.
Okay.
Okay.
I slept in my bed for the first time last night in 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah, for the first time in 2 months. But I'm gonna tell you something that was super annoying. As I was leaving, my wife had in, I don't know what you call them, but the kitchen remodeler, whatever you call that. And can we close off this wall? And can we do this? And I'm like, yo, man. Can I just get 1 day with no talking about no renovations?
You gotta
just one day.
Turn the house into a home.
Yo, but the kitchen is better than any kitchen I ever grew up in already.
A house is not a home until a woman put her hands on it.
And she putting hands, feet, everything, knees.
Man, you let her do what she got to do.
Like,
she making it good for you. So when you come down and get your glass of fold, your cup of fold, you know what I mean?
Sanka.
Like, get you a Sanka. Hey, that's how you know you from the 70s when you know Sanka.
Yeah, I think it was like one of the first decaffeinated coffees,
and it was instant.
Which I don't understand why you'd ever want your beer, alcoholics, or your coffee decaffeinated.
Yeah.
But apparently it sells quite well.
Well, do they still make Sanka?
I don't know if they still make Sanka. I don't know.
Sanka was instant. On top of it all, it was instant coffee.
Sanka.
Like, that was all.
And they used
bad.
to run commercials.
Hella commercial.
Like, who wants, like, anyway, so yeah, it's been, but and then on top of that, I was telling the guys before we started that I had to put together our bed. We have a sleep number bed. And
sweet. What number are you?
100.
Nice. That's hard.
Yeah.
Hard
I like as firm as possible. And they say people don't normally sleep on.
No, that's like sleeping on concrete.
But
bricks,
I'm 100. I'm like, who you? I was like, who you think you married?
Not even moving.
You married? I've been 100. Why would I not sleep on 100? Why would I sleep on 99?
That's hilarious.
Anyway, so so I was telling them I put the bed together because all our parts were all spread out. So I finally was like putting together a puzzle. I put it together, and then I slept on it. But they asked me, "Did you feel a sense of satisfaction?" I was like, "No." I was happy it was over with. I didn't look at the bed and go, "Ha ha, I did that."
You're supposed to feel. You're supposed to breathe, and you're supposed to exhale. And
I mean, I did. I just didn't. When it was all together, I did not get a sense of satisfaction looking at
your work,
being it in 100 parts. Now it's all together. I was like, I'm never doing this again. Don't
say never.
No, I can't.
You'll move again.
I'll move again, but I'm not doing it the way I did it this time. It was absolutely.
That's fair.
It was a tragedy.
Because we're gonna.
It's still.
Because I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen.
It's still tragic. It's not over.
We're gonna blow this show up. You're gonna get a 7 or 8 figure check from talking your stuff. And then you're gonna move into a big house.
That is the plan. Like when I say that, that's the plan. So,
that's the plan.
Yes. So hey.
So
subscribe.
with that being said,
subscribe.
I was gonna say subscribe, hit the notifications because we gotta get him into that house he's trying to get into.
Yes, and I promise you, y'all get me in it. All y'all welcome to come over and help see what y'all build.
He literally means that. Like he will be bartending, grilling,
all that.
Like,
I'll have some.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. You'll be taken care of when you come to mine.
But you do be liking to be on the grill though.
I enjoy being, my McDowell's.
Yeah,
I mean, I enjoy
with the train.
Yeah, you can even work my train.
Hilarious. We have a new NBA champion,
a familiar one.
Familiar one. We've seen this team before. This team has been there before. The core group has been there before. I'm gonna let you have a little bit of room because when I was thinking about the show, I was thinking you're gonna be on your. There's gonna be a KD angle to your take.
I did not have one.
Well, go for it.
No,
I want to throw it to you. Give me your overall feeling on what Golden State accomplished this year, and then what it means, like how you place their dynasty, because it's official. It's a dynasty.
Okay, you can technically separate at least. I will. Full disclosure, the 2 titles with KD are not held, in my opinion, in the same esteem as the ones without him.
The esteem.
Yes. I think that, but I think that this title, and they of course they're not going to say, but when you hear them talk about the satisfaction of this title and what they've gone through over the past, I believe it's 3 seasons, particularly after Game 6 against Toronto, you hear them talk about that, but they won't say this means more without KD, because it validates what everyone else has been saying, and it also validates the fact that what they were able to accomplish the year before he got there was not a one-year wonder, but it was, and it was done with the guys who were drafted, right? So it was done with the three foundational pieces and you can get their sense of frustration. First off, the KD frustration, but more importantly, I think outside of KD, the injury frustration, the injury to Clay, who wasn't able to be healthy, I guess, the past 2 seasons, him coming back mid-season, trying to find his footing, the injury to Curry, and the seemingly in and out. Draymond has started to become injury prone, seemingly just nicked up all the time, missing time here and there. And then last year, of course, Curry coming back and having what I thought was an MVP season and playing essentially by himself, finishing with the worst record. Yeah. All of these things, and for them to be able to...
There's no MVP going to team in the play-in.
So for them to have gotten their 3 foundational pieces healthy at the right time, right? You got to have health at the right time, and and they know this because a lot of their postseason success could seemingly you could draw that to be other teams not having health at the right time, whether it was the Chris Paul injury, the injury to Kawhi when they beat the Spurs when they were down 19 in the third quarter. So they've had some health. They've benefited from some injuries, and they were able to actually right the ship this year. And they beat but in their defense, they beat a healthy Boston squad. So for me, I think it puts Curry, in that second tier of, he's in the top 10, but if there was, he's in that second 5, or he's in that 5. He's definitely in the conversation. Obviously, greatest shooter of all time. And yeah, I mean, this team was one of the easier teams to root for, because a lot of times people don't want dynasties to win because they get fatigued, right? They get Alabama fatigue. They get, I don't think anybody ever rooted for the Spurs except for me. You get fatigue, and I think that this is one of the easier dynasties to root for since maybe Chicago.
Yeah, a couple things just to kind of go back. I don't think the KD thing is as nearly as for them as big as what you're making it. I think it was the depths that they went to after all that. Like it really started when KD was there against Toronto, when he got hurt and then Clay got hurt. And then everything after that was really dark. And people were really, and I'll take this opportunity. I was actually going to make a quick hitter about this, but really call out Nick Wright, because Nick Wright, who I don't really respect, I think he's a bit of a hot take king, went on his show, and it's gone viral back a couple years ago, saying Steph will never win again, and the Warriors will never win again, and it's over, and break it down, and Steph is never going to see a championship. And I think it was those kind of conversations, and obviously he was leading it, but there were other people who were on that tip going, and I was one of them. I didn't think that they would get it back this quickly, because once they got everybody back, it came back. But I think that's what made this particularly satisfying, is because when guys are hurt, and I think Clay is and I think you saw this too if you watched a lot of the post game, Clay is a very well-liked, well-respected teammate. And to see a guy go down with an ACL and an Achilles, which in the past were both injuries that could have cost you your career, and him to come back and contribute, obviously there were games where he wasn't at his best, but I think they wanted to play for each other. They wanted to play for their coach. And I think I would put that first. I'm not saying that the KD thing wasn't a factor. I just would put that first. I think in terms of how we see this team, you can't do anything but respect the organization top to bottom, because a lot of teams would have broke it up, especially when Clay got hurt, like in over the summer or training camp. I would have traded. Like, listen, I would have moved Draymond. I ain't gonna lie. I would have moved Draymond the day he was like telling KD, like, we won without you. I literally would have moved him.
And we talked about that.
Yeah, I would have
right?
moved him the next day.
I said he's the reason why they're going to win.
Yeah.
And I said you can't trade Draymond. You just can't. And I'm not saying, I mean, obviously they won again, so it appears I'm right. But I think that if they would have traded Draymond, they still would have probably won with KD. So,
right. But what they were able to do, and I think what the real secret to, I think, Golden State when they were successful, because they only won one title without KD and one with him. I mean, one without him and two with him, and they split when it was just them. What they had in those early years, that 73-9 team that didn't win, is they were a deep team. They had a bench. And when KD left and you lose at that time a $30 million player, they were able to get low draft picks and fill that roster with good young talent that helped them carry through the season, even through these injuries that they had, and waiting for Clay to come back. So Jordan Poole, which some people said was the worst pick of the draft that year, and then he ended up playing a huge role more in the regular season than the playoffs, but hit big shots. The thing I like about where Golden State is, and I said this on an earlier podcast, is that they're young. They, outside of their core, you got a Weissman coming back. You got a Kuminga who really didn't play much in the playoffs, but is 19 years old, tremendous talent that benches deep, and they can go on another run with another core of players.
You got Jordan Poole, and you got, not a lot of people know about Moses Moody, who averaged 30 in the G League.
Yeah,
and these are all Gary Payton, G League guy.
Yeah,
Jordan Poole, G League guy. These guys are guys that, like, the G League is not a spot where the seemingly NBA players or NBA players with aspirations, or players with NBA aspirations go to die. This is a place that has a lot of talent that they're getting players from now.
Yeah, and what they're doing is, and obviously, aside, they're doing an amazing job of developing their talent. But I think in the league overall, what you're seeing is the ability to send guys there that normally wouldn't be getting a lot of minutes with the team, let them go down and play in the G League, which is more competitive than what people realize. Yep, and get the at-bats, so to speak. Instead of being on the team and being the 23rd player and playing a game every week and a couple of pinch hitting, you go down there and get your 4 at-bats every game and figure your game out. These guys are figuring out the NBA game, and Golden State probably doing it better than anybody.
Did you hear that, and this has been a bit of a viral clip, that before Gary Payton joined the Warriors this last stint, he had applied for a job in the film room.
Yeah.
Just to be around the league.
Be in the game. Yeah, just to be in and around the game. And, man, what an incredible story. I love this organization. I love Steph. Even Wiggins, the much maligned Wiggins, played
He played his Harrison Barnes role, right?
Yeah. But he really stepped up.
More athletic Harrison.
Yeah, and he had some games where what he did really made a difference.
I think game 5. Yeah, game 5, I believe.
Because is he a free agent?
Yeah, well, I know he's about to get a new contract. I'm not sure what his contractual status is.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with him. But the scary thing is, as long as Steph can find the motivation, they could run off a couple more, because you don't worry about Draymond's motivation, because Draymond's not really impacting the game in like volume scoring. Like the things he can do. The things he does, he can continue to do until whenever he stops playing. And I think Clay will be completely and totally motivated, because we did not see the best of Klay Thompson this year. He is an all-time player, despite him being left off the 75 team. He's an all-time player, and I know he's eager to get back more full strength, get his legs together. So I'm really excited to watch this team and continue to grow. I'm not afraid of dynasties, and I'm not even afraid, because I don't think one, at least in my view, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this, I don't think one dynasty knocks out another dynasty. I don't think there's a ranking of dynasties. I think if you're a dynasty, you're a dynasty, and if you're not, you're not. Like the Lakers of the 80s, the Spurs, the Bulls, once you get in that, you're just in that. Like, you can't erase 5 rings. You can't erase, whatever. Like, once your team, the core of your guys gets that. So I'm excited to see how far they can go. If they get 7 out of 10, 8 out of 11, or whatever the number is, I want them to go as far as they can go, and as long as Steph can find the motivation, I think the sky's the limit.
Dynasties are. It just depends, right? Normally, I don't feel a way about the dynasty, but I must be honest. I did not appreciate. Well, I could appreciate, but I did not like the Patriot dynasty at all. Didn't like Tom. Didn't like Robert Kraft. I wanted them to lose literally every Super Bowl. So I can, but normally outside of something of that nature, I appreciate it all. And then when they lose, right? It's still interesting to watch, right? When Detroit dethroned the Lakers, I believe in 2001, stopped them from getting their three-peat. It was interesting on a number of different levels. Obviously, they were able to stop them from repeating the Bulls' success. Mm-hmm. And then you were wondering if Larry Brown could take this group of players who seemingly had never had any real deep playoff success with Chauncey Billups and Rasheed Wallace and Ben Wallace and Rip Hamilton, and the list goes on. Could they?
Tayshaun Prince?
Yes, Tayshaun Prince, Could they actually beat the Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Phil Jackson, the greatest coach of all time who only won Coach of the Year once? Like, get rid of that award if he only won it once. Anyway, my point is that, could they do it? And so that was not to bring that back, but I believe they ran off 4 straight against them. I believe. So anyway, I mean, so my feeling on dynasties is, as a sports fan, it's layered, because it's interesting because are you able to actually see the dynasty coming? And you don't know it's a dynasty until
there seems to be a moment where you go,
hey, what's going on here?
Is this a dynasty?
What's going on? With the Spurs, it was like, okay, are they going to be able to win without David? And they did. And they won. They won in so many different ways with Kawhi and in that version. And then they won with Tony Parker and that version. They had it with David. But the one constant was Pop and Timmy.
I think about this in every sport. We still talk about the Steelers of the 70s. You know what I mean? Like, to me, like I place so much on winning that when you have a dynasty, like a team that wins 2-3 in a row or wins 4 out of 5 or 4 out of 6, man, enjoy it, because I think that's more fun than the one-off. Like, Detroit won a championship in 2001. It wasn't their only one for their franchise, but it was the only one for that group. It doesn't mean as much.
Well, it's forgettable.
It means,
almost,
but
right? If you're in Detroit, you're like, you're dusting off that DVD every now and then with your little feather duster. Like, let's watch this.
Listen, if that was my team, I'm definitely doing that.
But if it doesn't feel like, and it feels, it's very forgettable because it doesn't feel like Toronto actually ever won a championship to me. They won it. It was interesting watching this happen. I know that they had their injuries, but still, it's like Toronto or Kyle Lowry about to get it was very, And then it's like, well, if you're not able to build, it's almost like you got to win it twice. For it to like resonate beyond the city.
That's how I feel about the Lakers bubble championship. They needed to win that next year to really solidify.
Yeah, they got to solidify.
And then they didn't.
Yeah, so this don't count.
Yeah. No, it counts. It counts, but it sits over with the 2001 Pistons and the Raptors and the teams that got one.
The Raptors didn't win. Toronto. I was thinking Grizzlies for some reason.
Let me ask you this. Pull back a little bit. Because now we're going into the draft, we're going into the NBA offseason, which obviously we'll get into that as things go on. But what's your overall take on the league? What were the stories that stuck out for you? The things that you thought were going to go this way and went that way? Would you get right? Would you get wrong?
Well, I thought, obviously I got the championship right, as I said here on, a couple months ago with.
You picked Boston.
No, I picked Golden
you said if my man,
State.
But you did do a quick hit that said if your man gets 25 to 30 minutes,
well, that was, yes, correct. Yeah. And then you saw that there was a change, right? And that's true. There was a change in the middle of that series where Boston couldn't score.
Yeah, it was weird.
right? I mean,
But Golden State's defense had something to do with that.
Well, that's the point, right?
Yeah.
And so we know that Robert Williams isn't a scorer; he's a defender. And Golden State made an adjustment defensively where they stopped the penetration. The guys couldn't get in the lane; they couldn't. And then you had Jason Tatum, and you asked me a whole different question, but you had Jason Tatum turning into this kind of point guard, which he's not. And of course, now that the stat is out there, I'm not probably dropping a bombshell, but he broke the record for the most turnovers in the history of postseason.
Really?
Yeah, 100. He had 100. And so it's clear that they need a ball handler.
He sound
they need
like
another
Mitch
scorer.
Trubisky.
Yeah, and they only scored over 100 twice in this series. They were in the 90s.
Yeah,
the whole time. And so 4 out of the last 5 games did not break 100 points. So that the adjustment was made.
Yeah, I think we can pause the Jason Tatum coronation.
They put away
he was
the
on his way, but we're going to have to hold off. And he's still young, man. He's still 24, 25.
13 points.
24, 25 years old.
Boston had 22 turnovers in a closeout game.
Yeah.
In a closeout game.
Oh, no, listen. Experience is everything in the NBA. You have to ascend. You have to get over. You have to get by.
True. Yeah.
It's always been that way. I don't think it's ever going to change unless there's a anomaly year where there's injuries or COVID or something like that. But in a normal NBA ascension of a team, you got to get to this point. We saw it with Milwaukee. They got smacked down, and then they had to kind of figure it out and get past it.
And I didn't, and I should have been a little bit more observant in this regard. Okay, so I didn't anticipate you're watching the Celtics consistently score over 100 points against defenses that weren't as great, including the Bucks without Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
But inside of that observation, they were going to Game 7 in every single series except for the one with Golden State. That's the one they lost. So there were little signs that I just didn't pick up on. But now in hindsight, now you look back, you're like, they shouldn't have been going 7 against everybody. But and I feel, and a lot of people feel the same way. I don't mean I'm right, that with Chris Middleton, they probably don't beat them.
No, but
they push him to Game 7. I'm saying they push him to Game. Yeah. So my point is with the prediction with Robert Williams, I should have probably been more aware, if you will, of what it took to get there. Looking at that would have told me that they're probably not going to beat a team with 3 championships and obviously one that won 73 games that didn't win a championship, but with the pedigree that they had. So
yeah, and obviously they had the experience and they had the motivation. But I wouldn't count Boston out moving forward.
I wouldn't count them out, but
good young team.
But you would thought with Brad Stevens they was gonna come back and it's just not a guarantee.
Well, that's true. That's true. But
it's not the first finals that
the
conference finals that they had. That Tatum and Reed been far, man.
Right, but this core, him, Jaylen Brown,
they gotta add a score.
Smart in that center. Good core,
but they gotta add. They gotta add somebody. They gotta add somebody that can score. And I just don't think.
I actually think they gotta add bench and role players. I think they got the core. They'll figure out, and that coach will figure out. I think when you talk about the adjustments that Steve Kerr made, I don't think Steve Kerr gets enough credit as a coach being on the bench. It's sort of notion, and I think we've had this conversation that. Oh, he just gets all his talent. And you try to say the same thing about Phil. You just roll the ball out and Curry's going to hit the shots and all that. And I think little things like the adjustments that were made in the series made the difference. And I think Steve Kerr deserves a lot of credit. I mean, he's a winner. He's a winner as a player. He's a winner as a coach. I mean, how many championships do you have? Like 5 as a player and 4 as a
he won with the Spurs too.
So craziness there. And then when you start thinking like Phil Jackson has 11 titles.
Yes, and 1 Coach of the Year.
Yeah,
get rid of the award. LeBron's got 1 league MVP in the last 9 years. Get rid of the award.
It's good people on both sides.
Steve Nash has 2 league MVPs, I believe. Like Charles, get rid of it. Like
Kobe got 1.
But Kobe probably should have had 1. I'm not saying I'm talking about.
Kobe should have had 1 over Steve Nash that year.
Definitely, yeah. So is that who he beat out?
Yeah, I believe.
Harden has never been an MVP. Never.
Scoring.
Never. Get rid or figure something else out with that award. Like Phil Jackson have 1 Coach of the Year.
Yeah,
1, and he's regarded as the greatest coach of all time.
One of the issues that I have with those awards in the NBA is that it seems to be at the beginning of the year, the writers kind of decide who the finalists are.
Because they go based on tenure.
And then they start marketing, in a sense.
It's almost tenure
those
based.
guys. So then, in order to fall out of it, you have to do something. You have to get hurt or you have to play your way out of it. Because there was a point where, like, DeRozan was really the guy. But he had to work so hard to get to the point. Now, obviously, he didn't sustain it because we as a team had injuries in Chicago. But it was like, at the time, he should have been in the – it should start at 0, and then who's ever balling should be on the 3 or 4 on the list going on. But they had made a decision that it was going to be Embiid, it was going to be Jokic, and they pretty much went the wire with it. And it doesn't allow unless somebody has a dramatic shift and somebody falls off that list.
And I also think that they should include the playoffs. Like,
I don't. I hear a lot of people say that, but I don't.
I think they should include it. So, well, then Steph should have won that bid last year. Then,
but see, don't you think?
Shit.
But let me ask you this: don't you think that they added by adding the conference finals MVP that they've given something for?
Oh yeah,
for
maybe.
postseason?
I mean, that's new, right? What is
Yeah.
this year?
I felt some type of way that they named it the Eastern Conference was the Larry Bird Trophy, and the Western Conference was Magic Johnson. It's like, well, y'all gonna name something after the GOAT? Maybe just the GOAT award, like. When they gonna do that?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes
But
I guess they feel like we want to make it even.
Well, I get the Magic and Larry because how critical they were to.
Like they want to spread it out.
Well, that's what they. Yes, I think they try to figure out a way to get everybody involved.
I have a question for you.
Yes,
and this is I could be a silly. This is everybody should know.
Silly.
Who the hell is Larry O'Brien?
Larry O'Brien, I believe, was the commissioner. Before David Stern,
because I know who the Super Bowl award. That's the coach of Green Bay. I know that. Okay,
that should be George Halas. I mean, George Halas is the NFC Championship trophy.
So but I'm like Larry. It was the Larry O'Brien.
Larry
trophy.
O'Brien, I believe, and if I got this wrong, just jump in the comments and straighten me out. But I think Larry O'Brien was the commissioner of the
whatever
NBA.
With that. They need to rename that. They should rename
just
it.
Just because you don't know him doesn't mean that it's not.
Yeah, but I mean, who the hell is that?
What if you worked hard and they named you like sports podcaster of the year?
That would
and
be
then
fine.
Just because it got 50 years from now, and they'd be like, man, who was Rob Hunter? Take his ass off for that.
I'm just saying, but we know who Kareem is. You know what I mean?
You know who Kareem is.
It need to be the Michael Jordan Award.
I don't
Or it need
know
to be
my kids
the
never
Phil
saw
Jackson
Kareem.
Trophy. It need to be something where somebody won something.
Man,
Who the hell
the history?
Who the hell? But you don't even really I think it's this guy.
I wasn't around when Larry O'Brien was around. I wasn't around when Lombardi was around.
Yeah, but we know who they are, though. That's the whole thing.
Yeah,
we know exactly who they are because their contributions were so great that you can't, you don't really mention the game without
it. You can't do that. Like, if you earn that, you don't want anybody. Like, if somebody named the street after you because you did some good things,
that would be lit. It may live on.
If they were like, yo, we giving an award for the best hair by a black person, and then they saw your hair, and then they named a street because you had the best black people hair, you wouldn't want that to be taken away. You earned that.
That's true. But if somebody came out with better hair,
no one's coming out with better hair. Nobody. That shit is silky.
Who the hell is Larry O'Brien, man?
That hair's silky.
And where the O'Briens at? Like, we don't even hear nothing. We still hear about, the Lombardis.
We don't hear nothing about the Lombardis.
Yes, because they're coaching.
Who?
They're the Lombardi boys. They got coaches in the league that we know.
I don't know who those are. Who are that? Little Vinny Lombardi. Hey,
who is Larry O'Brien? And why the hell is the trophy named after him?
Anyways, while he's doing his research and
Larry
taking
O'Brien
notes,
was an American politician and basketball commissioner. Get him out of here. Oh, he was a Democrat. Never mind. Put him. I'm not a Democrat, but I mean, you know what I'm saying?
We are officially in the rabbit hole.
He was a Democrat. Hold on. Was he down with the movement? With the civil rights.
Could you research on your own time?
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Anyways,
we ain't the trophy.
Let me ask you about this real quick. I'm hearing that the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie, are at an impasse, and now there's talk about him reuniting with your boy, LeBron James. How you feel about the boys getting back together? It's so funny because a lot of my friends, I'm gonna just ask you the question, then I'm gonna keep talking. A lot of my boys that had nothing nice to say about Kyrie that are Laker fans are all like, yeah, I mean, if he come on, he can ball, he really skilled, hey, then when you pairing with a guy like LeBron, you never know what can happen. So what's your take on that?
I think, okay, so I thought about that. We talked about this last night. We were talking about what are we going to talk about on the show. And you told me that Kyrie and there had been some scuttlebutt about,
and I think that's all there is
about that. And so I thought about that too, right? I thought about the fact that how much substance is there, and I think, and now I was like, I don't know, how can it happen? This is Westbrook's, but then I started thinking about like his recent interview on I believe his I Am Athlete podcast. Mm-hmm. I believe it was that one. And his hair was cut. Had a nice haircut, and I started thinking to myself, I was like, wait a minute. Not only do I think is there substance, I think it's already in the works, and I think that the new haircut was part of LeBron's, terms and conditions. Yeah, for him to like, look, I got some things that I need you to do, and you got to go out, you got to make this right. So I think part of what he said some very flattering things about LeBron on that podcast, and then. The hair being cut, and I also think, I just think there have been and Kyrie like, hey, I'm just trying to get back into the kingdom, and so I think there's probably going to be a minimum number of games that he's going to have to play, probably between 65 and 75 games. I think he's probably going to have to play that, And
I don't even think he's played that many games over 3 seasons.
Correct. So LeBron's like, look, and I think, I think high key, I don't necessarily know if LeBron's really is excited to get, take the floor again, with AD.
Yeah, but he gonna be there.
So if they move, because this is what I heard on another podcast, on Colin's podcast actually, that if they move AD to Brooklyn, that there's a possibility that could work.
I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm lost.
There's a lot, but that's the NBA. That's the NBA free agency for you, right?
No,
because you think you thought that okay, Paul George was gonna go to the Lakers. The next thing you know, bam, he's with the Clippers, and it's just so exciting. It's so exciting.
Oh no, the offseason is super lit. It's super lit, and obviously we're gonna be covering it week to week, and I know there's a lot of our followers that are excited that we're gonna be talking football. When we get to August, training camp stuff, and going into the season. So we're in that interesting time of year, but we will be covering the NBA offseason coming and going. So this is a good place for us to break. Like normal, we definitely thank you for tuning in. Thank you for checking in on us. We ask you to, on our YouTube channel, to like, subscribe, and get the notifications so that you know when we're doing things, know when we have new episodes and new content going up. And follow us on all of our social media platforms. At statlinesmatter on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. And listen, I am Mark Stewart. This is Rob Hunter Jr.
Yes, please do all that stuff. I got church got the building fund. I got the house fund.
He got the house fund, and he's AKA Robbie with the good hair.
Yeah.
This is Statlines Matter. Peace.
Bad boy. I ain't come for games. Say it to my face. Say it to my face. I ain't come for games. Say it to my face. Say it to my face.